Thank you for your patience. Technical issues.
Welcome to the BNI Blast on Blab. If you're listening to this on the replay, retweet and share this with your followers and fellow BNI and business networking colleagues. My name is Brian Lobig of Lobig Inc. Web Consulting, a member of the BNI Capital Business Alliance in Bethesda, Maryland, and my co-host.
I'm Philip Day with Philip Day Communications. Glad to have you all here tonight for BNI Blast on Blab. I do copywriting, websites, blog writing, and basically business to business and business to consumer marketing. I love this stuff. I feel guilty about getting paid for it. Yeah, just kidding. But anyway.
and even though Philip is all the way in Charlottesville, he and I work on quite a few projects together. Our newest ones, we're working for the National Institute of Health on a big social media strategy, actually, for one of their offices here in the DC area. And in the wings, kind of in the wings over there, we have Ninja Boss DC. That is my son, Gabriel, actually. And so he's fast with his fingers, so he'll be paying attention to the chat that's going on the right side if we get some people tuning in. And then he'll also make sure that we're answering questions on the side over there. So one of the things I like to do as we introduce this show and before we introduce our guests, we like to define what is BNI. This is the BNI Blast on Blab. And so BNI is an acronym. It stands for Business Networking International. BNI is the largest business networking organization in the world with over 7,000 chapters, 190,000 members. In 2015, BNI generated 7.7 million referrals, resulting in more than $9 billion worth of business for members. BNI offers members the opportunity to share ideas, contacts, and most importantly, business referrals. If you're a member of BNI and would like to be considered for an interview, visit bniblast.com and just request to participate in this process. Right now, we also like to let you know or suggest to you to tell a little bird or tweet this out to your followers. If you're looking at this on your mobile device, there'll be a little Twitter icon, or if you're on your desktop, there's a little button in the top left that says share the last 30 seconds. That'll share like a little screen, a little video capture of the last 30 seconds of the show that you can tweet out to your followers. And so I'd like to introduce our very special guest who's with us this week. Jackie Lamothe is the owner of Circa Travel, and she's a BNI director veteran, I discovered, reading her LinkedIn profile, with over 15 years of experience helping oversee and guide BNI chapters. That's right? Is that still correct, right, Jackie?
19,
nice. And
Wow.
You've done all your BNI directing across Central Maryland?
Yes.
Very good. Well, tell us a little bit more about your business and then something about yourself personally.
Circa Travel is born of a deep desire to share Italy with other people. Italy is my great passion.
Oh, okay.
And that is probably 75% of my travel business is independent, guided tours, cruises, and all manner of travel in Italy, starting with the airline flight right down to the transfer back to your car when you return from the trip. Additionally, I book quite a bit of river cruising too. That's very popular right now. People are traveling on Europe's rivers, and I do a lot of that work. And traveling is a blast. It's a wonderful way to make money. I can't say, like my cohort, that I'm embarrassed to get paid for it, but it's a lot of fun. It's a great career.
Very nice.
All right, Jackie, you're talking about Italy being your passion. Tell me how a middle-class working stiff like myself, who owns his own business, can afford to go to Italy now. Is it even possible?
It's very affordable. People say to me so often, "Oh, that's always where I wanted to go. It's on my bucket list." And I say, "Well, why don't you go?" They, "Oh, well, I can't afford it." So I say to people, "Well, what did you do last year for vacation? Did you take one?" "Oh, yes, we go to the Outer Banks every year, and we stay for 2 weeks, and we get a house, and the family comes." I say, "Oh, that sounds fabulous. What do you typically spend on a vacation like that?" And when they tell me, $3,000, I say, I could have put you in Italy for a week for that kind of money. Really, it's a lot more affordable than people think, particularly, and here's the key, if you go off season. If you travel from November to March, I can get you magnificent deals to Italy. Magnificent.
Oh, wow.
And the tourists are low, way less tourism in the big places like Rome, Florence, and Venice. And it's so much fun. The locals love it when you come off season.
How long have you been?
Let me pick.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I was going to piggyback off the Italy part because I love Italy. I've never been there, but I want to do a bike tour there one day. So I'll need to talk to you about that.
Oh, absolutely.
But what do you recommend as the top 3 things you must do when you go to Italy? Well,
I'm taking the bike tour off the table for now, because that's a special thing that you want to do. You must see the Statue of David in Florence. You have to. It's one of the most magnificent things. I still tear up every time I turn that corner in the Galleria dell'Accademia and see, David. It's just the most breathtaking thing. The Colosseum is pretty cool too. Just to stand there and know that you're where Julius Caesar used to hang out, it's pretty amazing. Some would tell you must take a gondola ride in Venice. It's schlocky, but it is cool. There's really something magical about gliding down the Grand Canal, in a boat, with the guy with the striped shirt and the boater hat. It's a cool thing. But the best experience is the one that I can't tell you about, because you just wander down a street and all of a sudden you come across 2 old guys playing bocce or smoking your cigarettes, and you get into a conversation, and it's just magical.
Wow.
I'm always
sold
curious.
Me already.
I'm always curious about how people get started in business, and then how long have you been doing your travel business as well?
Well, I've been designing trips for people to Italy for longer than maybe some people on this audience have been alive, close to 30 years. And for a long time, I was doing it without getting paid. It's just because I love the country so much, and any excuse to have anything to do with Italy. But when I came to a crossroads, I was in retail. I had a retail business, and it imploded during our last economic downturn. I was literally in a retail business at the very worst time in history that one could have been in retail, and I lost the business. And when it went down, I had to have a conversation with myself. Okay, what are you going to do? I'm not really cut out for a job. It's never really been my MO. So I just had to have that talk with myself. What do you love? What drives you? What's your passion? And when it kept coming up Italy, ever since I was a kid, it's been Italy. I just had to find a way to monetize it. And this was what I chose.
So was that around 2010 that you got involved?
Yes.
So that's very interesting, because Philip and I had a very similar experience in 2010.
Yes, we did.
That was a major major transition time.
It was a major kick in the butt is what it was.
It was a kick I didn't enjoy, but I learned a lot from it. Now, thank God for
Absolutely. That. Me too.
Yes. Okay, a question I have for you about health alerts. Where is the best place to get health alerts before travel? Because a lot of people are like, well, I want to travel, but I have, health issues. What's your thought on that?
Well, hopefully they have a good travel advisor and a good doctor. I mean, that's the most important thing. In terms of if you're speaking about something like the Zika virus, it would be the World Health Organization. That would be the place that I would go to find out if there are any advisories in the area in which you are planning to travel. Or the CDC, Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta. Those are the 2 main sources for checking on health. Now, if they're taking a guided tour, then they will be advised by the tour company and by their travel advisor like me. This is a moderate tour. This is a low energy tour. This is a lot of walking, a lot of hills. So be advised. It's our job as travel advisors to ask a lot of questions to find out how you like to travel and if you have any health issues, and then design a tour based around that.
Okay.
One of the things that we learn in the marketing profession in figuring out how to develop our services for people is there's a lot of talk lately about developing personal personas. Like, who is your target market? Who is that person? What does that person look like? Who is your best referral, or who's the most common? What does the person look like who really uses your services? What is that persona? What does that person look like?
They have now come around to being solidly in the baby boomer category. Pretty much, I'd say probably 80%. Although I'm getting a lot of millennial work lately, because millennials don't want to be bothered with all the, pitting Expedia against Orbitz, against Priceline, against this. They just want somebody to get her done. But my mainstay is really baby boomers who don't even know where to start.
Yep.
And they don't want to take 4, 5, 6 hours to figure out where's the best place to go. And they want recommendations for hotels, or they want to know which river cruise line is the best for their needs.
Jackie, when it comes to travel agents, please tell us what are the main traits of a good, credible, excellent travel agent?
One
how
who
do we
listens
find them?
more than they talk.
Okay.
That's really the main thing. Someone who really listens to what people, and they ask leading questions. In fact, I interviewed somebody yesterday. I said, okay, if you were going to DC for the weekend, what hotel would you like to stay in? And when she told me, that gave me a good idea of just the kind of facility they're going to want to stay in, or the kind of property I'm going to look for. I said, what do you do on the weekends? If they read a lot, or they hike a lot, those are two very, very different sorts of trips. And based on the answers that one gives, that's how you sort of lead them. I mean, I do a lot of work for people that I never meet, and some people that I don't even ever speak to. It's just done, over the computer. And so I ask the questions that way. But I really like for them to hear my voice, so that they can get excited right along with me. I guess if there was one trait for a good travel advisor, it would be their excitement and their passion for what they're showing to you.
I got you.
I'm curious about with the advent of mobile culture and just the expansive nature of the internet, and you mentioned several travel websites, and there's more and more travel apps that people can use and kind of to research. I'm curious about how the whole internet kind of industry, the internet has impacted your industry in general, and then in your business specifically. Do you feel like it's more people are just using those websites to figure out where to go, or has that impacted your business and that industry?
It's impacted me in two ways. In one way, it's very, very good, because a lot of people will do all their research and then they'll come to me and say, I want to go here, here, and here. I want to leave on this date and I want you to book it. And they want me to book it because they want to have somebody to fall back on should something not go according to plan. Or I'll look at all the pieces and say, have you considered that you might want to insert this, and how are you getting from the airport to the hotel, and things like that. On the other side, it hurts us because people see advertising for certain companies, and when they're reading the Sunday morning paper and they see a big full-page ad on the back of the New York Times for Liberty Travel, they call them or write them and say, I want to go here, and so they get kind of an unseen travel agency that isn't me. But there's plenty of business out there. There's plenty of business for the OTAs, the online travel agencies, and the human beings like me. But the key is that when you book with those OTAs, you don't get a human being. You don't get anybody to ask you questions and to kind of customize your trip for you.
Yep.
A lot of people are planning for their vacations even as we speak. And what would be some recommendations that you would have if they were to call you tomorrow?
As to
depend on their budget, of course. Yeah.
As to where to go.
As to where they could travel.
Well, this is
as to where
this is a big year for U.S. travel. A lot of people are a little fearful of leaving the country. So North America is really, really big this coming vacation season. Vacation season is typically summer. It's a big anniversary for the U.S. parks, national parks. So that's a good idea. You know, Florida and the Keys are always great vacations. But Europe is a lot more affordable than people think.
Somebody,
okay.
James is asking a question. What is an OTA?
Online travel agency.
Online travel agency. Okay.
What is an OTA? Okay, we're going to transition into some BNI specific questions. And so
my other favorite topic.
Another favorite topic. So going back to our previous show, we interviewed Gary Flax of Smart Automation Solutions, and talking about how we really focused on the residential aspect of his services and how he kind of ties ties technology together throughout the house and sound systems and TV and video. And so one of the things that we learned from that process was actually a BNI learning, is that he considers BNI members as really his personal sales force. That the reason he feels like he doesn't even have to hire that many salespeople is because BNI has been so helpful with him, with people referring, from the group. They understand his business so well that they can make really informed referrals. And that was kind of eye-opening. I've heard that before, but when he said it, it really was kind of eye-opening to me, because it's what really sets BNI apart from other traditional networking groups, where they will get together for lunch or dinner. You might learn a little bit about their business. They might talk a little bit about it. But in these BNI chapters, since you're meeting every week, you really get to know these businesses like an insider. And those people really do become like a sales force to you. So that was my learning from the previous show. So with that in mind, I'll have Philip ask the first BNI specific question.
First BNI specific question I would ask is, you have a prospect who's coming into your BNI, and they ask, look, I understand what BNI is all about, but I really don't have a lot of time. How would this benefit me and my company to join BNI?
I don't have a lot of time. Might not be a good fit for that person then. Because that's the biggest investment in BNI. The biggest investment is your time.
Okay.
And it's not just the weekly meeting. You've got 90 minutes where you come together each week to exchange stats and kind of bolster each other up and hear another sound bite. But the real work goes on outside of the meeting, where you're asking people, do you know a good, doctor, lawyer, Indian chief? I have breakfast with one every single week. I'd love to introduce you if you wish. And that does take time. And it's not just about the sound bites. We have to get together with our sales force, as you so rightly put it, on a regular basis to find out what makes them tick. Why do you do what you do? Why should I be referring you? What makes you want to get up in the morning? What other skills and hobbies and stuff do you have? Because the more that we can know about the people that we meet with every single week, the better able and the better confident we are to be able to refer them to our friends, family, and best clients.
So you've been a BNI director for how many years?
I've been a director for about 15 years. I've been a member for 19.
So as what does a BNI director do? How is it different from just a BNI member?
Well, for a long period of time, for a good 10 years of that, I was just opening up chapters all over the state of Maryland. I was overseeing chapters from South Central Pennsylvania down to Anne Arundel and Prince George's County. Mm-hmm. So I was living in the car, just driving up and down the roads, opening and helping to support these chapters. Now, I'm a cheerleader. I really, in my small, designated area of Central Maryland, I visit these chapters and just reinforce how great this organization is and help them with training. And I'm just really a cheerleader for BNI. That's really what I am.
Very good.
Wow. So when you look at BNI as an organization, and what do you think are the real strengths that it has now? You've seen it develop over 19 years. I've only been a member for 2 years.
And he's
have
already
some
a chapter
difficulties.
president.
Yeah, chapter president.
That's how I started too. Watch out.
Yeah. but I just look at this organization and I see so much potential, but we just haven't reached it yet. What are your thoughts on that?
And I don't know that we will in our lifetime.
Okay.
Because the breadth of the organization is so incredible now, particularly compared to even 10 years ago, because of BNI Connect. We're all connected now globally to members. You guys can be selling to people in Timbuktu. And I can
That's
too. It's just, how are they going to find me? The key strength that continues to get better in BNI now is the training. We are learning so much more about how the human mind works and what makes us want to refer other people, and how we come to know, like, and trust the people in our sales force. And we learn that through more and more training all the time. Podcasts, webinars, entrepreneur.com, all of Ivan's books. I mean, there's just a huge amount of material open to us.
Very good. I have a question that I'm sure Philip will appreciate too, is how does a smaller chapter effectively grow their membership?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, with great difficulty. Everybody has to get in the game. I mean, you have to have at least 75% of the people in the chapter talking about BNI all the time. A lot of these people, you say to them, does your husband or wife know where you go every Tuesday morning? Well, no. Well, tell them that you work with a great, this kind of person, that person, this kind of person, and you can be a resource for them. It just takes a lot of people doing the work. There's a lot of front end loading on BNI. You gotta get the chapter up, over, and into the 20s, the high 20s, and then you'll attract. Because the bigger you are, the more you're going to attract the kind of people that you want to be working with.
So it sounds like a push-pull strategy. Like when you're a smaller chapter, you're doing all the pulling. You're going out and reaching out to a lot of people, and then when you get to a larger side, then it's actually as a reverse. So you're kind of pushing to get people involved, and then the chapter itself becomes a pulling mechanism, kind of.
Yes, it becomes a magnet. You're right. I'm grateful that I'm in a chapter like that now. That now we're a showcase chapter in this area, and people really want to feed on our energy.
Yep.
Okay, what is a showcase BNI chapter? What does that mean?
One that's firing on all cylinders. You've got at least, between 25 and 50 members. You're doing all things right. Everybody's making money. The agenda is followed well. All the pieces are moving. Everybody seems to be happy. There are no cliques. A lot of one-to-ones are being done. That's a showcase chapter.
Wow. Man, I need to visit that chapter. That sounds like
we've got 3 or 4 of them here in Maryland.
Yeah.
3 or 4.
Aren't you in one of the big ones,
Yep,
Brian?
we're in the second largest. Yep.
Yeah.
Have you been to our chapter, Philip?
No, I have not.
Oh yeah, you got to come up here. So we could do,
I will.
We could do like a BNI Central Maryland tour, and Jackie could help us with the tour planning.
Oh, I'd like to just meet you at your chapter. I haven't been to your chapter either.
Oh yeah, come on over. Next Wednesday would be perfect because I'm doing the presentation and I'm going to be doing some live music as an intro.
Oh, you're a Wednesday group?
Wednesday morning, 7:30. Yep.
Oh no, got a visitor stay in a new chapter next Wednesday.
Okay.
Sorry.
And actually, one of the people in our audience, James Bonato, he's going to be presenting as well. He's going to be kind of opening up the presentation. He's our chapter videographer.
Oh, that's fun. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry I won't be there for it.
Yeah, that'll be a good one. So he had a question that he's asking. He's looking to buy a new oven for the kitchen. I tried searching on BNI Connect, but not really knowing where to start. Is there a field for appliances? So I would say no, there's no field for appliances because you're searching for people, not products on BNI Connect.
Yeah.
If you're looking for an appliance.
Kitchen remodelers, you'd find it under, you start in the trades. That's the industry would be trades, and the subcategory would be kitchen remodeling, and that's where you might have an
Very good.
An opportunity to find that.
Oh, okay. Very good. Jackie, and we're opening up the floor for more questions, so if the audience wants to send us some more questions, please do. On the subject of BNI leadership, what I'm going to give it the opposite question to you, though. What makes a really bad leadership in a BNI club, BNI for you, that you've seen? What does bad leadership look like?
A president that won't stand up, doesn't have any life. How they got, put in the president's chair is really beyond me. A vice president who isn't communicating with his or her membership committee and reaching out in the spirit of helpfulness to members who are struggling, and a secretary treasurer who isn't keeping the records. And you can have a chapter of 40 members, and then you bring in a new leadership team, and within 6 months that could be down to 18 members with bad leadership.
Wow.
I've seen it happen.
You've seen it happen. Exactly.
Yeah.
You've seen it happen. Wow.
Really flows from leadership. Makes sense. You've been in BNI longer than I've ever knew about BNI, but I'm curious if you go back to your very early days in BNI, how did you first? Do you remember how you first heard about BNI?
Oh, yes. That's a great story. I had just started a new business, and it was a real niche financial business, really hard to market. And, I had my brand new business cards, and I decided to go to a Chamber of Commerce mixer, like probably most business owners did in those days, and maybe still do. And I remember, oh God, I was so wet behind the ears. And I remember thinking, oh, wow, I've got my new business cards. The logo's even raised. I'm going to go to this chamber function, and people are just going to swarm all around me, and I'm going to get all this business. And of course that didn't happen. That's not what the chamber is supposed to do. But I saw this guy in a suit, and he had this lapel pin that said cold calls, and it had the red line through it.
Okay.
I looked and I thought, I'll bite. So I went up and I said, hello, and I introduced myself, and I said, what's the deal with the pin? And he said, first of all, what do you do? And I told him what I did, and he said, whoa, I've never heard of that. How do you get your business? And I said, I don't know, don't have any. That's what I'm doing here. And he said, have you ever heard of BNI? I said, no. He said, what are you doing next Tuesday at 11:30? I said, nothing, don't have any clients yet. He said, I want you to come and see what this is all about. And there were only 4 people in the room. There were only 4 people at that first, gathering in Frederick. And wow. You would think now, what could she have possibly seen that would make her want to invest in something like this? Because in those days, almost 20 years ago, it was $285, and that was my rent was only $425 in those days. Wow. That was a lot of money to invest in something that I didn't know anything about, but I got givers. I understood that immediately. I understood people helping other people to market, and that was all I needed. And here I am 19 years later.
Givers gain. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was that pin, cold calls.
Speaking of pins, I pulled my pin out of the thing there.
Ah, there you go.
Is that
very nice?
Now I can't see you anymore, Brian. But.
You see that?
Yeah, very nice. Got your brand on it too. Well, as we wrap up tonight, Jackie, would you give us you have any other advice for us as far as a small business owner, BNI member, anything that you think that our audience should know?
In terms of business, I'm going through a course right now in marketing for my business, and it applies to every business, I believe. And that is, you have to build a list. You got to continuously work on building a list of prospects, and you have to engage with them every single week in some way. You guys have a wonderful format, and I see that this is a great way to reach people. There are so many other ways that are little or no cost to buy in, weekly newsletters, e-zines, blogs, consistently posting your passion on Facebook. These things are really important, both for business and in BNI. I'm posting every time I go to a chapter meeting. I post at least 2 pictures, and I name the chapter name, and I say, they're rocking and rolling in Frederick or wherever I'm visiting. You have to be top of mind for your customers, clients, patients, all the time.
Okay. Very good.
Well, we'd like to let people know how they can get in touch with you. And so what is your preferred way of people kind of learning about you or getting in touch?
Email is always best because I can, answer in the middle of the night when I wake up at 3:30 and can't get back to sleep. And that is Jackie, Jackie, at circatravel.com, CIRCA.
I'm going to throw that web address in our little chat screen on the right-hand side so people can click on it and it'll show up in the show notes. And I put a quick little screen capture of there.
Thank you.
In there for you.
Well, Jackie, I was just going to say, you can always tell when we have a great guest because 30 minutes flies by.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just.
I know, that was so much fun.
I'm sure there are tons of other questions. I feel about you like I did last week's guest. We need to bring you back. Because I'm sure there are a lot of questions about travel and about small business that we didn't have time to ask you tonight. So can you come back one day?
Oh, I would love to. Thank you. That's very generous of you.
Well, our next guest is going to be Maurice Williams. He's a personal trainer from Move Well Fitness out of Bethesda, Maryland here. And so he'll be joining us next week. So catch us next Thursday. We're here every Thursday evening at 8 p.m., rain or shine so far. Occasionally we have a guest. So occasionally one of us might replace the other one with a guest co-host or do solo depending on our schedules. But we're really trying to make this a really consistent kind of process so people know that we're going to be here and available and talking to other fantastic leaders, entrepreneurs around the world. So thank you very much for your time and catch you on the next BNI Blast on Blab.
Thank you for joining us.
Good night, everyone.